My next guest has probably heard every introduction known to man, woman, child, whatever. So I'm not going to try to make one up to impress the folks. He's
Right.
simply a legend. He's Ice-T. And I
How you
welcome to
doing, Tim? What's up,
allhiphop.com.
man?
Thank you, man. Thank you for being here, as always, man.
Good to see you again.
You too, you too. I appreciate you having me in your house, of course, always. We've known each other a long time. We've known each other since the Final Level podcast days.
Yeah.
And but there's a date I want to ask you about, prior to me meeting you, and it's 1983, 1984.
1983, 84. You have to
You
tell me what was going on.
you dropped the Coldest Rap
Okay.
and Killers.
Yes.
I know it's a long time, and I know a lot of times with these podcasts, what the interviewer tended to do is that we do the research of an artist's discography,
Right.
and then we learn full well that you've obviously moved on from that.
Right, right.
But
The first record, The Coldest Rap, that was my first time ever being in a recording studio. And the way the story goes, the rhymes from The Coldest Rap were like my walking around rhymes. Those were like, when before a kid makes a record, he has raps that he says. So I had all these player rhymes, and I was at a beauty parlor called Good Fred's, and I was saying the rhymes to these girls, just entertaining them. And this guy named Willie Strong walked up and said, "Would you like to make a record?" Willie Strong and Cletus Anderson owned the main record store. I'm blanking. The one Snoop was standing on top of in the in this video. Lord have mercy, I can't even. But the biggest record store in Los Angeles,
okay.
and blank. But anyway, they came at me, and I was like, okay, you guys own a record store, you record guys? And they're like, yeah, man, we got a studio, we got everything set up, and literally they like Run DMC's record. They put me inside a Cadillac, the chauffeur drove off, and he never came back. And we went to a studio, and they had this music that was produced by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, who were the time, and at the time they, later worked with Janet Jackson. And there was some girls singing on the song, and they took the girls off. They pulled the tracks and left me with this record with this wind blowing and stuff. And I just went in there and I just said my rhymes, and I made the hookup. I'm a player, I'm always mean. I rode Mercedes-Benz when I was 17. From the womb to the tomb, I run my game because I'm cold as ice and I show no shame. That was the hook. I'm a player, that's all I know. On a summer day, we play in the snow. Talking about cocaine. From the womb to the tomb, I run my game. So I had all these, and then I would just say my other rhymes I just had in my head. I didn't write anything.
Wow.
And it was called The Coldest Rap, and that was my introduction into music and making records. And I made about $250 off that record. Never made any royalties.
And I think you were doing an interview with Brian Coleman, who wrote Check the Technique.
Right.
And something you said when he was asking you about that record is that you didn't go into this for a career. I think the quote was something like, "Who's like what rapper did you know that bought a car or something?"
Yeah,
something
no,
like,
this is before rappers had become successful. No one had bought a car. I think maybe Curtis Blow was the biggest rapper
Right.
at the time, Sugar Hill Gang. But it wasn't something that you would get into like you were going to get paid. And if you're on the streets, and whether you're selling drugs or you're hustling, you are actually getting paid.
right.
So a lot of my friends were like, "Why are you wasting your time with this rap shit?" And I was just doing it for fun, doing it to get girls, doing it to be popular. And so it became something we would do on the weekends. I also, when I came out of the military, I had bought a bunch of stereo equipment. And at the time in LA, there were big dance promotions. Uncle Jam's Army, Bay 5, and they would throw big parties. I'm talking about Uncle Jam's would fill the LA Sports Arena with like 10,000 people for a dance. This
Wow.
is pre-rave. No artists, no acts, just a dance. because they were able to tap into the 18 to 21 market, the market that couldn't get in a club. And they would throw these big parties. And Egyptian Lover was the DJ, Bobcat, who later went on to work with LA Posse and produce LL Cool J. And I was the only LA person they would let rap. So, yeah, the thought of making money doing rap hadn't really come to mind. It was never like, oh, you could actually live off of rapping. It was just something to do for fun.
When did that change for you? I mean, when did it say to you say, all right, I can this? Well, one, I'm good at it, but two, I could make a switch.
I didn't really know that it could make money till I saw Run DMC. When I saw Run DMC, one of the tours they did, they came to the LA Sports Arena, and I think LL was on there, and maybe even PE, and they had lasers. I mean, it was rock and roll.
Right.
It wasn't, because up to this point we were rapping in basements. We were rapping in little clubs, dances. To see it in an arena setting with the lasers and the lights and the smoke and the explosions, I was like, yo, this shit is rock and roll. This is really gonna be big. I'd never heard rap through big speakers like that, stadium speakers, you know, and it felt like rock. I mean, the scratching was, I was like, yo. And they had props. Def Jam everybody had props. And I think that night I went home and like wrote an album. That was the night I took it dead serious. I was like, yo, this really can be something. This isn't just, you know, a game. It's something that could be something.
When we were doing the podcast together, I always enjoyed when you would talk about obviously the great track 6 in the Morning, and you shared amazing stories about how that came to be.
Right.
And what's great about it is also, and you always stress this point, you're like, the B-side. It's the B-side wins again.
Right.
Why does it seem that the B-side always wins when it seems like, from a listener standpoint,
right,
it's like it's an afterthought or a second thought?
Because I think the B-side is the more fun record. It's the more like, let's just have fun, and it's not as much stress put on it. Also, it's usually not the record that's aimed at radio.
Right.
So, you know, when you first start making any music, you kind of want to be on the radio. Now, I was cursing and swearing and stuff, so I kind of knew I was never going to get on the radio, but maybe on a mix show or something. So you're kind of formatting it. But then the B-side, you just go, fuck it.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, to rehash the 6 in the Morning story for people that may not know, I was hanging out in L.A., and I was in a club in Santa Monica, and I heard PSK. And at the time, I was rhyming more like LL. I was battle rapping, you know. All my raps was about how I would dismember you as a hit, you know, you don't quit, dog in the wax, all that kind of stuff, you know, and aggressive. And when I heard Schoolie D, first the track was like, sound like angel dust. It was like, and he said, PSK's making that green. And at the time, he was so laid back, and everyone was yelling. All the rappers were running. Run was yelling. L was running. So I was like, this is cold. So then I researched the record, and I realized he was singing about Parkside Killers, which was a gang. I'm like, oh, he's really singing some street shit. Right. Now, up to this point, I hadn't really dropped street shit in my music. I was like just trying to rap like a rapper. And my boys was like, talk that shit you be talking, like the stuff we like. And that's where 6 in the Morning came from. I kind of took the cadence of PSK and told one of my LA little crime stories. Who would know it would hit? Like, people went crazy over it. And I was like, oh, they want this shit? I got this shit all day. But, you know, I just was just totally unaware. I always tell people, like, my career was like, you come over here and I make you a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and then you go, this shit is crazy, you should sell these. I'm like, them? You're like, yeah, and then we sell them and we get rich.
Right.
So it's kind of like just rehashing my life and the wild stuff that was kind of taboo to talk about. you know, and figuring a way to put it into music, and then also idolizing Iceberg Slim, who was telling stories about the life. It kind of like gave Ice-T a direction, you know, because Ice-T became an Iceberg Slim type character, and I was able to live out things that I lived, and like I said, my music, I call it faction. It was factual occurrences put into fictional scenario, so that, you know, no one went to jail, you know. But yeah, I found my voice with 6 in the morning.
You're obviously someone that, you know, you say from your career that, you know, you see ways that you know you have to do something different, whether it's not just emceeing but acting, producing, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that shows early on in after you dropped Rhyme Pays, and I think you had there's an interview I read. You said, I knew then that I had to rhyme different styles. I knew that right off the bat.
Well, you know, being a solo rapper, I remember when I wanted to be in a group, and I met Grandmaster Caz, and one of my earliest mentors, and he was like, if you could put on a 4-minute record and rap from the front to the end of it, you don't need to be in a group. He said a lot of people in a group can only do 16 bars.
Right.
You're a soloist. If you can rap that long consistently, and he's like, you can always be in a group, but don't sell yourself short. So, damn, I lost my train of thought. What did you say?
Knowing to rhyme different styles.
Oh, so now you're a solo artist. Well, of course, if you're doing singles, that's okay. But when you're doing an album, you don't want to have the same rhyme style on every song. So I would always change the way I would rap based on the song. If it was a song where I wanted to yell, like Midnight, I give you that midnight approach. If it was you played yourself, now I'm laid back, it's in the cut. And for me, a lot of great rappers, to me, that's where they fall short, is that it's the same cadence, it's the same thing, the whole album.
Right.
And that burns out my eardrums, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I want to hear a little bit of, you know. And I work with rappers, and I try to get them out of their normal way of rapping. Like a lot of times I work with somebody, I say, no, talk this one. Just talk it. Don't rap it, just talk it. Or you know, bring it down, get more serious. And a lot of times it's difficult for them because they're so caught in a certain way of rapping. And when I'm produced by other people, a lot of times they're like, okay, that was a way of doing it, do it another way. And I'll rap it a whole nother way. And they say, okay, give me another way. And then I'll do it another way. And they go, that's the one, let's do it like that. Because there's a lot of different vocal deliveries you can do. You can do a very aggressive one. You could do one that's almost like you high, you know, like laying, you know, and you never know which one is going to lock with the track better. So,
is that now that rap is obviously the most successful number one genre out there,
mm-hmm.
and you are seeing a lot of kids that they're like, oh, we can make money off of this
mm-hmm.
finally, and then they hear kind of the same. They hear the radio and they hear very similar cadences.
Mm-hmm.
Are you finding that more of a challenge to get kids to? Is the conversation like, do you want to? Yeah, you can make whatever millions of dollars off this one single, but you're gonna be maybe a one and done if you do that, or?
I mean, you know, I don't really care. Like, I kind of learned my lesson about commenting on other people's music. You know, when I went through the whole Soulja Boy thing, and you know, that thing wasn't even intended. That was me in the recording studio and somebody poking fun at me in the booth. Yo, Ice, they don't want to hear you. They want to hear Soulja Boy. They want to hear you. And I was like, yo, fuck them niggas. You know, like, but it wasn't malicious. I didn't even know, dude. You know, right. But then it turned into me being a hater and not liking the music and this, that, and the third. And I learned from that experience that music is all preference, and it has a lot to do with age and what is relevant to you at the time. Right. So if there's 15, 16-year-old rappers, what they're rapping about you can't expect a grown ass man to ID with that. That's another world, you know. So when you're 15, you're thinking about the new sneakers. You know what I'm saying? When you're my age, you might be thinking about the price of jet fuel.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're in a whole nother place. So of course it might sound foolish or crazy, but who are you to judge because it's not meant for you?
Right.
So now I can listen to all new artists, and some of them I like, and some of them just aren't my cup of tea, so to speak. But for me to say it's whack, you know, I'm whack to some people. They don't like me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I just know as an artist, you're going to have to, you're either going to do one or two things. You're going to be really, really hot and make a lot of money, and it's a rap. Or you're going to be able to sustain a career for a long period of time, but that's going to require you to do a lot of different things. You're going to have to transcend. Very few people will be able to just rap consistently their whole career. And even if you look at somebody like Jay-Z, who's a billionaire, his money is made all from rap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? His money is liquor, his money is clothes, his money is a lot of different things, real estate clubs. But he's been able to stay consistent. Nas too, but Nas has money in technology and all these other things. So even if you do maintain that musical career, you're going to have to invest your money outside of it.
Yeah.
It's not all going to be made from rapping.
Right.
You know, Kanye's made a lot of money, but he's from Adidas.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so rap is something that opens the door for a lot of other opportunities. You just have to be smart enough to take it.
I have to ask you about the. This will be a very weird way of telling you how I got about this, but I want to ask you about the track Colors. And,
Okay.
and partly because now that I have two kids, we don't get to listen to my music in the car.
Right.
You know, you get to listen to other. And there's a artist they like who does a song called Colors, who's definitely not the same version you did.
Right.
But I remember being maybe 11-year-old, going to my friend's uncle's community center. I was watching the film Colors, your track coming on, and all 12 of us at 145th Street and Convent Avenue just started singing along with it.
Right.
And it's one of those memories. There's a lot of to that day. Was this track? Was the track created because of the film, or was it something you already wrote and then someone came up to you and said, "Hey, I have this movie. Can we put them together?"
The story goes like this: I was signed to Warner Brothers Records, and I was signed to Sire, which is Warner. Warner had the soundtrack for Colors, so when they wanted to use my song "Squeeze the Trigger," which is on the Ryan Pays album. Well, somebody told me, well, if they want to use your song, you can ask to see the movie, right? So I wasn't going to say no, but I said, hey, can I see the movie? And they said, sure. So they screened it for me. And me and Islam sat there and we watched the movie. And when the movie was over, we didn't hear no title song. So we were like, is there a title song to this movie? And they go, yeah, it's done by Rick James. Now, for trivia, find the Colors album, go to the B-side, and listen to the last song. It's a song by Rick James called Colors. So I listened, and I'm like, get the fuck out of here. I mean, I love Rick James, but he can't. And so, you know, me being from gang culture, never been in a gang officially, but I've been affiliated with Crips, Bloods, everybody in L.A., because that's where I grew up, Crenshaw High School, all that. I know gang banging like the back of my hand. I know everything about it, why, who, what, loud. So I told Islam, I said, we should do this song. So we said we'd submit it. So we went in the studio, and at the time I was rocking this song by King's Son called Mythological. And it goes mythological, mythological. And when he comes on, he says, when I get ill, it's a reason, 'cause it's duck season, hunter of the fronter. Then here I come. I am a nightmare walking, psychopath talking. So I use the cadence of mythological and just wrote a song from the perspective of the gang member. you know, and that's one of the things I've always been able to do is write a song from the perspective of a hustler, write a song from the perspective, you know, like become other people. I became the cop killer and got in trouble with body count,
Right.
you know. So I wrote the song, and because it was so official, it's funny, people actually think I was in the movie. They look, I liked you in Colors. I'm like, I wasn't in the movie. But that song, it really woke up America to gangs, because up to that point, the only image of California the world had seen would be David Lee Roth's California
Right,
Girls.
right.
They didn't know about anything about gangs. And when I put that on the map with the movie, people said, oh, L.A., something's happening in L.A. And, you know, that's how that story went.
You've always had this long music career and acting career, and so and you're very active on Twitter, and so when you tweet out something that's very important to you in terms of like an album you've done or a song you've done, I think people take notice, and you did that recently with when you talked about the track "Valuable Game," and you tweeted out quote, possibly one of the most motivational songs I've ever done. I dropped it to squash the East Coast West Coast beef. Can you, just for people who don't know, can you take us back to that time and what was happening and why did you create this song?
Well, there was a lot of drama going on at one point, you know, right after Tupac got killed. You know, it wasn't long after that that Biggie was assassinated in Los Angeles. And there was a lot of tension going on, and, you know, it wasn't really East Coast, West Coast beef. It was just Pac and Big going at each other. You know, they had problems. And the worst problems is when you're fighting with somebody who you used to be friends with, and Pac and Big were friends. So that was turning into the East Coast, West Coast beef. Not to mention Biggie getting killed in California wasn't a good look. You know, so I'm in New York City at the time when Big got shot, and I get a phone call, and they were like, "Yo, Ice, be careful! That somebody just killed Biggie out here in L.A. We know you in New York. We don't want, you know, tit for tat. Somebody might just take off on you, you know, because you're West Coast." And it just started. The press started to push the line, like, whose fault is this and that? And before you know it, it was the headlines of, I think, Vibe magazine, East Coast, West Coast beef. And I just wanted to make a song to try to squash it, you know. And we were doing this thing on the radio where we would come on, me and Lisa Evers would come on, and we would broadcast from L.A. and New York simultaneously and let L.A. people talk to New York people. So we were trying to really nip that in the bud, because, you know, you don't want people in New York to go to L.A. and get shot at, or vice versa.
Yeah.
When it really wasn't supposed to be that to begin with. So, yeah, Valuable Game was just me saying, hey, man, you know, some of y'all busters out there trying to waste up what it took some of us hustlers all this time to lace up. Like, we got a good thing going, you know. Let's not fuck it up. You know, hip-hop's become the game of death, you know. So there's a lot of shit I said in that record, but I did it in a different style of rap where I'm just talking. And, yeah, it might be one of the most motivational thing, because it's me singing about hip-hop as a whole and trying to save hip-hop.
I want to fast forward to 2012. You know, you produced, directed Something for Nothing, The Art of Rap. You know, it was a documentary with, just name a few, King, Chuck.
Yeah,
you know,
everybody.
everyone.
Everybody that was in my phone was in that movie.
What is, well, what, 9 years later, looking back at that film, is there anything you would want to have changed from it? What do you think, and what do you think the ultimate, what do you think the long-lasting impact has been on it so far?
Now, that movie happened because I was watching TV, you know, and I want to direct feature films and stuff, and they said most directors start with a documentary. Okay, so I said, okay. Then I was watching this other thing where they said, if you're going to start a business, start with the thing you're most familiar with, the lowest hanging fruit. So I said, okay, I'm going to do a movie, I'm going to do a doc. What's the lowest hanging fruit? It would either have to be gang shit, street shit, kind of like some of the projects I just showed you before we started, or it would be rap. But I said the gang shit, street shit, those aren't stars. Rap are really stars. So people might tune in. So I said, you know what? This is a great time to document hip hop because hip hop is making a turn and it's going into a more musical style. It's not as lyrical. It's changing. And also, we're losing a lot of hip hoppers. So let me document those that are alive. Let's get in here. So I just called people up. I called Eminem. I called all these different friends. I said, if I came and shot you, would you answer 10 questions? I only got 10 questions. Sure, Ice. So I had access. Mm-hmm. And I got with a camera crew, a company out of England, and we shot. It took 2 years to shoot the movie. The crazy thing is when the movie was cut, it was a 4-hour cut. And then Sundance said it had to be 90 minutes. So we had to edit the hell out of that movie. I just think making a doc, you just want it to be respected. I think it's respected. I think somebody who watches it tomorrow will get the same thing out of it that people watched it 9 years ago. They get to see Rakim break down how he raps. And since then, me and Mickey have done the Art of Rap tour, right, which is still on the road. We have a big one coming up in California, headlined by Cypress Hill. Art of Rap tour is like my Lollapalooza. It's like I created it, but I'm not the star of it. It has every different time it plays, it has a different lineup based on, what the promoter in that region wants. Mm-hmm. And we have access to all the golden age hip hoppers. The last one I did was me, Too Short, Kane, EPMD, Bone Thugs and Harmony. So Art of Rap tour will be out there till the wheels fall off. It gives the people from the golden era like Slick Rick, like Das Effects, people that have sold gold and platinum records a place to perform. Because we sell out arenas. But, no disrespect, but if, EPMD's waiting on Drake to call him to go on tour, they probably won't go on tour. Right. Drake is going to call somebody from his genre, his era, and as he should. But that doesn't mean people don't want to see, we don't even say old school. We say golden era hip hop. People still will come see LL. They still want to see Wu-Tang. They still want to see Ice Cube. So Art of Rap provides that.
And I think also the great thing about this movie was that not just you obviously had access to all these amazing artists, is that it's easy to say that you're fans of their music as well. And so I was happy to see, and came across a Hip Hop DX article. You had an interview with them about a possible album you might want to drop, and your inspiration was Scarface's "Deeply Rooted,"
right?
Which is an incredible album, and the last. It's like a hidden track. Mental Exorcism is one of my favorite tracks on that album.
I just got off the phone just now with a producer named Charlemagne out of the Bronx who's begging me to do an album. He's a super producer. He actually produced one of the SMG albums I did with Smooth the Hustler and Trigger, the Gambler. And he's like, come on, Ice, It's just about getting in that right zone. See, the thing of it is, for me to make a record right now, I know they're not going to play it on the radio. I don't care. Wu-Tang can drop the hottest record in the history of the world. It will not get rotation because there's new kids that need the spins, right, and that's just what it is. Now, can't be mad about that. Why would I be mad? I mean, there was a 5-year, 10-year period where we were on the cover of every magazine anywhere you went. So we had our ride. It's time for other people to have their ride. No biggie. But for me, it's like, okay, you're gonna spend some time, go in and cut an album that you might get on some mix shows. Your fan base will like it. But I just got to get motivated. It's like it's got to be the right storm. Like when I heard Scarface's record, Face was like, "I'll produce your whole record." I'm like, "All right, we can go in." But as an artist, it's got to be the right. See, it's different when I'm saying this with all humility. It's different when you got to put out that next album to pay your rent.
Right.
If you don't put out an album, you're not looking at any money. But at this point, I don't really need the money from the album. So now I just need the time to do it. you know, and the want to do it. It's a different motivation. It's a better motivation than really needing the money. It's because now I can just be truly artistic. But I've been doing these K Slay videos, the Rolling 100 Deep, 100, and everybody's really reacting to my bars. They like ice, ice, ice. And then after we watch Jadakiss just destroy shit, I think people are now starting to listen to the rappers again.
Right.
Like, what are y'all saying? You know, so who knows? Maybe this year.
And you wouldn't necessarily, because of where you are in your career, you wouldn't necessarily have to go on tour for the album or sell the merch,
I
right?
would
It's
just
just
do
like-
I would just do the album just to do it.
What was it? What was it about? I mean, there's so many, I think, amazing tracks on Deeply Rooted.
Mhm.
What was it for you? What was it about that album that kind of stood out to you? That
I
said,
just
"All
liked
right."
the fact that it was mature. You know, it was him rapping from who he is now. You know, nobody wants to hear me rap like 18-year-old Ice-T. They want to know what's going on in my life now. The thing of it is they don't think there's no struggles. They don't think that, okay, well, Ice, you relatively successful, but you don't have no problems. Nah, I could go out here in the street. Like Chris Rock said, I'm famous from about 10 feet away in good light. You know what I'm saying? A cop can put a bullet in the back of my head. Haters are out there talking shit. You know, people want to get it. You know, the stuff still is there. You know, you can get into any kind of altercation. My buddy, my young player partner, Gonzo, just got killed a week ago. You know, at a gas station, at a bowling alley up in Seattle. Like, who would have thought that? You know, he ain't gang banging no more. What is happening? So, my dogs are running around upstairs. It's like you're always you, and you know, life situations might change, but some stay the same. You know, you can have family problems, you can have girl problems. Look at Dr. Dre going through a divorce. It's all kinds of shit.
Right.
So rapping as an adult and rapping from that perspective was very interesting to me. And this Scarface is just such a badass rapper. You know, he's so literal. I like literal rappers. I've always liked Face. I like Ice Cube. I don't mind decoding some rappers, but then I also like rappers that you know exactly what the fuck they saying.
Right.
Just know, like, you know, special, you know, decoder ring you need to read to
Right.
get to it. That's a style though, but that's okay. That's cool.
I know you're like pausing. You're like, all right, I got to go to genius.com, figure this thing out for a
understand
second.
what it is. I think Wu-Tang invented that heavy slang where you just like, okay, wait a minute. What the fuck did that mean? You know?
You know, we're here and we're on allhiphop.com, so I have to ask you about the late Biz Markie.
Yeah.
Passed away about a month ago. For those who don't know, what was your do you remember your first kind of meeting him?
Absolutely. The first time I really met Biz was on tour. And we shared a tour bus. Our first tour, our big tour, was the Dope Jam tour. It was myself. It was Biz Markie with TJ Swan. It was KRS-One, Miss Melody, D Nice. It was Kumo D. It was Dougie Fresh and Eric B. and Rakim, those 6 bands. And we were the openers, so we had to share a tour bus to save money. So here I am with meeting Bismarck really up close and personal for about 100 shows. And we just became close friends. I mean, there's not a day he's ever mad. He turns everything into a joke. He sings. He was, in hip hop, there's a few people that are absolutely real. Like, you might think it's an act, it's not an act. Like Flavor Flav, it's Flavor Flav.
Right.
Like what you see, that's who Flav is all the time. When you seen Old Dirty Bastard, that's who Old Dirty Bastard was. Sir, some of these people, it's an act. You know, they can turn it off and on. Biz Markie's always Biz Markie. Kool Keith is always Kool Keith. So I love those kinds of people. And those people, they never get mad, and I would never want to see them mad, you know? But Yeah, it broke my heart losing Biz. You know, I had just been with him at Tretch's birthday. Excuse me, wedding. And then I was another event. I seen Cool V by himself, and he told me that Biz was in the hospital dealing with diabetes, and you just don't think they're gonna pass away,
Right.
you know. And so many people are dying from COVID, and yeah, it broke my heart. I went to the funeral. 57 years old,
Yes.
but
I got to see him once at the 930 Club
right,
in DC,
right,
and I think he was part of the Roots show,
right.
and it just looked like he was just having fun, and
Oh,
like
that's
that
him.
energy was just like it just played off the crowd so well.
Even the way he rapped, it was like, it was almost like he would freestyle and say the craziest stuff and the wildest stuff. The last picture I got him being Biz, he's sitting in my lap. I mean, the dude's like 300 pounds, he sat in my lap. But, you are not going to find anybody who could say something bad about Biz Markie. He was just, and he brought humor to hip hop. He brought outrageousness to hip hop. Him and Shantae doing songs like Picking Boogers. Like, who the fuck does that? So, and when he sung Benny and the Jets on TV, like, who does that? That's Biz. He'll be missed, and he won't be replicated.
No, imagine, oh, man. All right, just can't believe, tough to believe that he's gone. I want to turn a little bit to kind of, I guess, early influences for you, and in a way where obviously today, because of online, if you're West Coast, you could hear East Coast easily. If you're East Coast, you hear West Coast, and vice versa. I remember DJ Muggs telling a story about in the early days, and Be Real talks about it too, is that DJ Muggs used to fly from Cali to New York and then get cassette tapes and bring them back, and the Cypress Hill would be able to listen to them as well. Do you remember your first, I guess, East Coast and artist that you heard that kind of amazed you, and then the first West Coast artist that you heard that amazed you?
Well, when I was in the Army, when hip-hop really hit and Sugar Hill Gang came out, and then the cats that were from New York had tapes, and they had, the tapes of Flashes on the beatbox, going to these legendary tapes and stuff, and the legendary battle of Kumo D and Busy B and all that kind of stuff. And hip hop is so, like, it's just so entrancing. Like, when you first see hip hop and the elements, you look at graffiti, you're like, yo, that's so dope. Or you watch a DJ, you're like, that's so dope. Or you watch a break dancer, everything is fascinating. So hip hop has like 4 big hooks that'll catch you. One of them will catch you,
right.
And the cool thing about hip hop, it just made you, it was difficult, but it was attainable. Like, if you practiced, you could do it. So, I just remember just listening to like Cold Crush Brothers, early tapes, Funky 4+1 More. I remember first time I saw Wild Style, the movie, I got blown away. And on West Coast, the first rapper I really heard was Toddy T. Toddy T and them were doing like parodies of songs, like the Freaks Come Out at Night. They did the Clucks Come Out at Night, talking about crackheads, and the Batter Ram, and they were like really beating up the streets, like mixtapes. I heard them, and of course Too Short, Out of the Bay, Freaky Tales. These are the tales. And I met Too Short really early in my career. His guys that he was working with brought him down, and me and him made friends early. But, those are my first memories. I remember listening to, of course, Curtis Blow. Curtis Blow had a very important part in my career because I did a rap contest in LA at Carolina West, and Curtis Blow was a judge, and I won. And having a real rapper like him say I won made me believe, whoa, I might have something, So all these things slowly moved me over into thinking rap could be something,
you obviously are not just an MC, artist, producer, as mentioned before. And Talib Kweli, when we interviewed him before, he talked about how he's podcasting now. He's an author, and not just touring or and what he said was that what he learned from being able to be an author and a podcaster is that he doesn't have to tour till he's dead. He doesn't have to tour to continuously make money, and he's fortunate and he's very appreciative that he could do that. And you've also in the past have been very, and your Twitter as well. You're very open about how much money you make for a commercial, for exactly like that. If rap could pay you television money, would you drop TV and focus more on emceeing, or is it just like you're such the artist as an actor that you just continue to do that?
Well, you know what? Honestly, it's a good question, but honestly, see, there's two types of money with rap.
Right.
One is what we call mailbox money, where you make the record and you sell a lot of records, a lot of royalties come in, and you just you get paid. The next one is you got to go out and gig. I don't mind gigging, but of course I don't like doing it as much as I used to. If you want to go out and gig and really make a lot of money, you'd have to gig maybe 250 days a year. You'd have to really hit the road hard. I got a family now. I got a kid. I done that. I've been around the world 10 times. Like, I already done that. So I like the ability to do Law and Order and have a job where I go to work, come back. And I still gig on the weekends. I can still do a show on the weekends. But to wipe that slate clean, I mean, honestly, I don't think if I had, no. Because being able to do more things is more fulfilling.
Right.
Even if rap paid me and all I could do is rap, then I would be a rapper that wanted to act. I would like, damn, I wish I could act. So to be able to act, to be able to do rock, to be able to do rap, I'm living the dream. I get it all, And acting, you start liking it. But what happens is with this, what happens, Tim, is you're unknown. You become known with rap, okay? You sell 1 million records, blah, blah, blah. Oh, guess what? Maybe he could be in this movie. That's how I got in New Jack City, not because I was an actor, it was because I had sold millions of records, and that opened that door. Well, shit. Now he's selling this. Now he's on 40 million TVs a week. Maybe he can sell some Tide, And another door opens. And as these things evolve, people like, hey, why don't you become part of our hotel? Now they're using your fame to fund other things. And that's what happened with Jay-Z. That's why Puffy is doing Ciroc. Puffy's doing Ciroc because he was already famous, and his fame transcended into the liquor, which propelled him. So what it is that as you move up in music, as those doors open, don't turn them down. Right. Investigate them. Who would know that Mos Def would like acting? You know what I'm saying? But he's a great actor. So I tell the youngsters, I'm like, very few people will take hip hop for a ride like I've taken it for. But got to remember, I'm not really a rapper. I taught myself how to rap. I'm a hustler. So when I taught myself how to rap, that opened some doors. And one of my boys told me, he said, maybe your entire rap career was your audition for film.
That's dope. That's a good line.
That was your audition to get into movies. And now look at Will Smith, As you get older, your time becomes more precious. So the compensation for your time becomes into play. So if you're going to make an album and it's going to take a year of your life and you're going to bust your ass and do it, and you put it out and it only sells X amount of dollars, it's like a wasted year. So you're like looking for something that's more guaranteed. So when I go on Law and Order is a season. You get picked up for 3 seasons. That's 23 episodes a season. You know what you're getting paid per episode. You put that in the bank. Right? With music, you're going to put out that record and you're going to hope it sells. and they may not sell. Or you think I'm going to go on tour and COVID hits, and there ain't no tours. We put out the Carnivore album last year. 2 weeks after we dropped it, COVID hit. We haven't been able to play one song off that album, the album that won the Grammy, live because of COVID. We just played a concert 2 weeks ago, and that was the first time we were ever able to play anything off of that. So I think a smart hustler is going to cover his lanes. You want a multiple income streams. You want, do a little music here, do something for a video game here, do a commercial here. Just play all your options.
A few more questions.
Yeah.
You talk about body count. You talk about an MC. Is there a song, or maybe a line from a song in Body Count that you're like that kind of impresses you yourself? That you wrote that you're like, oh, I'm good. And then there's a line as an MC that you kind of wrote, or a song that you're like, oh wow, I can't believe I've created that.
I don't know. I think the last album, my favorite song, the one I get the most inspiration out, is a song I did called "On Another Level," which is, how I push past. You said I'd never be shit, and it's an inspirational song I did with Jamie Jasser, and now I don't know far as one of my lyrics that fascinate me. I don't know. There's so many. I say so much wild shit. I don't know, and people, no. No, I mean, because it's bars, so it's
Right.
bars and stuff. Like the rhyme I do on my show now. I do this thing where I play Bobby Shmurda's beat, and I say, bitch niggas perpetrating the sport, fake motherfuckers reading Rob report. Bitch boy, you'll never get far. You suck a dick for a play on World Star. I ride hard, black car bent in the tent. It's all good. Too much wood. Haters truly hate what they wish they could. I'm golden when I'm rolling all up in your hood. Gang bang, black tie tux with the upper crust. Step to me stupid outside, I might fucking bust. Stop lying, bitch, let the truth speak. Start dying, no vegan, I cook beef. I'm rough terrain, bad traffic. M16 fully auto with the holographic. I'm so classic, I peel your cap back. Anyone can get it fitted a snapback. I'm that old school nigga with the gray hair, paralyzed, still have you killed from my wheelchair. I said I have you killed from my wheelchair. I think I caught a body about a week ago.
Wow.
So,
Shit.
it's just rhyming, and to me, good rap don't require a beat. It's just lyrics, and I tell cats, I say, the trick is it has to be entertaining. You can rhyme a bunch of words together, and if it's not entertaining, you're showing verbal dexterity, but it's not entertaining. Chuck says, I don't rhyme for the sake of riddling.
Right.
So, that's the trick, and I love it, when it's done well.
And we saw, and you mentioned earlier, we saw Jada Kiss, right? And
Just killed it.
he killed. And so I have to ask you, would you ever do a Verzuz? Or would you ever want to? I mean, it's kind of.
I don't. First off, nah. I don't know. You never say never, but I don't know who I would go up against. And I don't know. I don't know. It's not something. I was talking to Dre about it. Dre was like, nah, I don't want to do Verzuz. I'm like, who would go up against Dr. Dre? But I don't know. It's not on my bucket list. It's not like I'm watching Verzuz like, ooh, I want to get on there. Nah, not at all.
Legendary Ice-T. Thank you so much, as always, for being on allhiphop.com for Sense Celebrity Michael. I greatly appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me in the library, and we know there's many more questions to be asked,
Yes.
but we're going to leave it right here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. Peace.
Thanks, sir. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.